The storm started with a low rumble, almost too soft for the human ear. But Evan felt it in his bones. The sky above the remote colony station on Eris 9 turned black in seconds, like someone had dropped a giant shadow over the world. Wind howled against the metal walls, and the emergency lights flickered as the first wave of rain smashed down. Evan had lived on rough planets before, but he had never seen a storm rise so fast. One minute the weather was calm, the next the ground was shaking under his feet. As he rushed through the long hallway of the research outpost, he heard the alarm scream, "Warning, critical flood risk detected." He stopped. Flood risk? Here. The nearest river was miles away. Something was very wrong. He grabbed his toolkit and sprinted toward the exit. He needed to reach the shuttle bay before the water reached the building. But as he turned the corner, he heard a strange sound. A soft cry. It wasn't human. He hesitated. The storm roared outside, and time was running out. But the cry came again, weak and scared. Evan followed the sound until he reached a small storage room. The door was half crushed by fallen metal beams. Inside, he saw her. A young alien girl with pale blue skin and glowing silver eyes. She was lying under heavy debris, unable to move. Her thin arms trembled as she tried to lift a broken beam off herself. When she saw Evan, she froze like she wasn't sure if he would help or hurt her. Evan knelt beside her. Hey, don't move," he said. "I'm here to help." Her eyes widened with surprise. You will help me?" she asked in a soft voice. "Of course," Evan said, even though he wasn't sure why he felt so protective of her. He took a deep breath and lifted the metal beam with all his strength. It wasn't easy. His arms burned, and sweat dripped down his face even in the cold air. But he pushed harder until the beam rolled away. The girl gasped and pulled herself free. "Thank you, human," she whispered. "My name is Evan," he said. "What's your name?" "Lyra," she replied. But there was no time for introductions. The floor shook violently, and water began rushing under the door, fast and cold. Evan's eyes widened. The flood had already reached them. "Come on, we have to go," he said, pulling her up. They ran down the hallway as water burst through vents and cracks. It filled the corridor like something alive was chasing them. The storm outside howled louder, and the walls groaned as if ready to collapse at any second. Evan knew the only escape was the maintenance tunnel, a narrow path that led away from the main outpost. But when they reached it, he cursed under his breath. The entrance was already half filled with water, and the tunnel was far too tight for them to enter with their heavy gear. "We need to remove the outer suits," Evan said. Lyra looked at the rising water with fear in her eyes. "Will we survive inside that tunnel?" "We don't have a choice," Evan said. "It's this or drown." They threw off their heavy outer layers as fast as they could. The moment they stepped into the icy water, a deep rumble echoed from below the ground. The water surged upward, almost knocking them down. Lyra grabbed Evan's arm, shaking with fear. "It is waking," she whispered. "What is?" Evan asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she urged him forward. "We must go. Please." They squeezed into the tunnel just as a wave crashed into the corridor behind them. The cold water slapped against Evan's back, pushing him forward. The tunnel was dark, and the space was so tight that Evan could barely move his shoulders. Halfway through, the tunnel shook like something massive was shifting beneath the planet. Dust fell from above. A loud groaning noise vibrated through the metal. Evan swallowed hard. "Okay, that is not normal." Lyra closed her eyes. "My people warned of this place. The machine under the ground. The one that should never wake." Evan stared at her in the dim emergency light. "Machine? What machine?" But before she could answer, the tunnel behind them collapsed with a deafening crash, sealing off their way back. Water flooded the space, pushing them deeper into the darkness. They emerged into a large underground chamber. Strange blue lights glowed on the walls, alien symbols, old and beautiful, lighting up as Lyra approached. Evan realized the chamber was not human-built. It belonged to Lyra's people. "Where are we?" he asked. Lyra touched a glowing symbol. "This place was forbidden. My people said it held a guardian from the ancient war. If it wakes fully, no one will survive." Before Evan could react, a metallic roar echoed through the chamber. The ground trembled. Red lights blinked on around them. Something was moving. Something huge. Lyra grabbed Evan's hand. "It has sensed us," she whispered. "And it is coming." Evan stared into the darkness ahead, heart pounding, knowing their nightmare had only begun. The chamber was colder than the tunnel, and the air felt thick, almost heavy, like something inside it was watching them. Evan held Lyra's hand tighter without even thinking. She didn't pull away. Her silver eyes were wide with fear as she stared into the shadows where the roar had come from. "What is that thing?" Evan whispered. Lyra shook her head slowly. "It is called the Guardian. It was created to protect my world long ago. But now, it does not know who the enemy is. It attacks everything." A deep metal thud echoed again, closer this time. Evan felt it in the floor first, a vibration rising into his boots. Then the sound came, a scraping, heavy dragging noise, like giant metal claws moving across stone. He swallowed hard. "We need to move. Standing here will get us killed." They stepped deeper into the chamber. Strange blue lines lit up under their feet. The walls were covered with carvings of Lyra's people, tall, graceful figures with glowing symbols above their heads. Some carvings showed them building machines. Others showed war, destruction, and finally, these underground ruins. Evan glanced at Lyra. You know this place?" "Only from stories," she said. "But I did not know it was real. I did not know the humans built their base on top of it." Before Evan could reply, a loud clank shook the chamber. A massive shadow moved in the far corner. Evan quickly pulled Lyra behind a broken pillar. A huge metal shape stepped into the dim blue light. Its body was made of old alien steel, covered in glowing red cracks like veins of fire. Its head was shaped like a helmet, with one giant red eye in the center. It scanned the room with slow, mechanical movements. Evan held his breath. The Guardian's metal claws scratched the floor. The red eye pulsed like a beating heart. The machine turned its head toward their pillar. Evan prayed it wouldn't see them. But a soft beep echoed from the machine's body. Lights flashed. The Guardian turned directly toward them. Lyra's eyes filled with terror. "It has detected my bloodline. It knows I am here." Evan groaned. "Perfect. Just perfect." The machine took one massive step forward, then another, shaking dust from the ceiling each time. Evan grabbed Lyra and pulled her toward a narrow opening on the left side of the chamber. It looked like a passageway, but it was dark and unstable. The Guardian roared, a harsh, metallic scream that made the whole chamber vibrate. "Go!" Evan shouted. They ran. The Guardian charged after them, its heavy steps echoing like thunder. Evan felt the heat from the machine's burning red cracks as it got closer. They reached the small opening and squeezed inside just as the Guardian's claw slammed into the wall behind them. The impact sent cracks racing across the stone. The machine tried to force its body through the passage, but it was too big. Evan pulled Lyra deeper inside. "Keep moving. Before it finds another path." The passageway was tight and tilted downward. Water trickled from cracks above, running down the walls. The further they went, the stranger the place felt. The air grew warmer, almost alive, humming with low energy. "What is this place?" Evan asked. Lyra touched the wall gently. "The old path, the one only my people used. I think we are going toward the core. The core of what? She hesitated before answering. The core of the whole defense system. The heart of everything. If we reach it, we might stop the Guardian. And the flood. Evan raised an eyebrow. And if we don't? Lyra looked down. The Guardian will corner us. And we will die. Evan sighed. Great. No pressure. But he kept moving. Because turning back wasn't an option. The Guardian was trying to break into the passage behind them. Every few seconds, a loud boom echoed through the walls. The deeper they went, the brighter the glowing lines became. The walls pulsed like veins. The ground hummed. It felt like the whole place was waking up. Lyra suddenly stopped. What now? Evan asked. She pointed ahead. The passage had opened into a new chamber, smaller and darker, with a tall archway covered in golden symbols. A soft blue mist floated near the ceiling, moving in slow circles. This is the trial gate, Lyra whispered. Trial? Evan repeated. What kind of trial? Lyra turned to him with a look that made his stomach twist. It tests the mind of the person entering. If they are not worthy, the gate destroys them. Evan blinked. Destroy? As in kill? Yes. He rubbed his face in frustration. So the Guardian wants to kill us. The flood wants to drown us. And now the door wants to vaporize us. Anything else? Lyra stepped closer to the gate. It reacts to fear. You must stay calm. And think clearly. If the gate senses panic, it becomes deadly. Evan stared at her. Lyra, we're running from a giant murder machine. Panic is, kind of normal. She took his hand gently. You helped me. You saved me. Now trust me. Or we will die here. Evan swallowed hard, staring at the glowing gate as it slowly opened. Light spilled out. A cold voice whispered from inside. Enter. And be judged. And Evan knew there was no turning back. Evan took a slow breath as he stepped through the glowing archway. The blue light felt cold on his skin, almost like tiny needles running across his arms. Lyra followed close behind him, her hand still gripping his so tightly her fingers trembled. The moment they entered, the world around them shifted. The stone walls vanished. The floor disappeared. A black emptiness replaced everything. Evan felt as if he was standing in a space with no beginning and no end. He spread his arms slightly, checking if he could feel anything solid. Nothing. Lyra, he whispered. I am here, she said, but her voice sounded far away, like an echo in a massive cavern. A soft humming started, coming from all directions. Then thin lines of blue light appeared in the darkness, forming strange symbols in the air. The symbols pulsed, growing brighter and brighter until they lifted and arranged themselves into a giant floating hologram. The hologram showed Lyra's people, tall alien figures with glowing patterns on their skin, gathered around a massive machine shaped like a star. Evan felt his chest tighten as the hologram replayed scenes from long ago. The first scene showed the aliens building the star-shaped machine. Their faces were calm, hopeful. The second scene showed the planet under attack. Giant ships descended from the sky, releasing clouds of darkness like shadows trying to eat the world. The aliens rushed to the machine, activating it. A bright shield expanded from the center, protecting the planet. The third scene changed suddenly. Something went wrong. One of the alien control crystals shattered. The machine glitched. The shield turned unstable. The system malfunctioned and started identifying every life form, including its creators, as threats. Evan clenched his jaw. That's how the Guardian was born. It was supposed to protect, but now it kills anything. Lyra's voice shook. My people sealed this place when they could not fix it. Only the chosen could enter the core. Only someone with the old blood could shut it down. The hologram faded. A soft wind blew across the dark space, even though there were no walls or sky. A voice whispered all around them. One of you carries the blood of the makers. The other carries the fire of resistance. Both are needed. Evan's heart jumped in his chest. Both? Why me? The darkness around them stirred, forming images. Evan saw himself fixing broken systems, surviving storms, fighting to protect others. He saw moments from his life, things he had forgotten long ago. Every image showed one thing clearly: he never gave up, even when everything went wrong. The voice whispered again. Strength must meet knowledge. Human will must join alien blood. Unity is the only key. The space trembled. Suddenly the black void shattered like glass, and the real room returned around them. Evan staggered, grabbing Lyra's shoulder to steady himself. The golden symbols on the archway pulsed and shifted, transforming into a new shape, a path forward. A hidden door slid open, revealing a deeper chamber glowing with shifting silver light. Lyra stared in awe. We passed the trial. It accepted us. Evan took a breath. Good. Because the Guardian won't stop. As if responding to his words, the ground shook violently. A loud roar echoed from the passage behind them. The Guardian had found another way in. Evan and Lyra rushed through the new door. The chamber inside was larger than anything they had seen so far. Towers of alien crystals rose from the floor, glowing like stars frozen in glass. Strange energy currents floated between them in lazy loops. At the far end of the room stood a smooth round platform, glowing bright blue. That is the core path, Lyra said. The entrance to the heart of the machine. Evan nodded. Then let's move. Before Tin Man catches us. But as they started walking, the crystals around them reacted. Thin beams of light shot upward, forming ghost-like figures in the air. Holograms of Lyra's ancestors appeared, hundreds of them, standing silently, watching them with glowing eyes. Evan froze, feeling the hairs on his neck rise. Lyra lowered her head. They are not alive. They are memories. Warnings. The nearest hologram lifted its hand toward them. A deep voice filled the chamber. To enter the core, you must face your truths. Before Evan could ask what that meant, the floor beneath him turned transparent like glass. Beneath it he saw a terrifying sight, an endless pit of swirling silver mist, like a storm trapped underground. It began rising. Evan grabbed Lyra. Run! The mist exploded upward, spreading through the chamber like living smoke. It moved fast, faster than any wind Evan had ever seen. It swept around them, forming shapes, eyes, claws, faces. Whispers filled the air, twisting into words. Fear. Doubt. Failure. The mist wrapped around Evan, showing him visions of every mistake he had ever made. Friends he couldn't save. Missions that went wrong. Moments where he almost died. Lyra screamed as the mist formed her own nightmares, her family disappearing, her people blaming her for not completing her training. Evan clenched his fists. No, he growled. We are not your prisoners. He grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her forward. Look at me. Don't let it control you. She nodded weakly. They pushed through the mist together, step by step, fighting against the crushing wave of fear. Their breaths were heavy, their vision blurry, but neither stopped. The mist shrieked, swirling violently, trying to hold them back. But they kept moving. At last, they reached the glowing platform. The mist exploded outward, releasing them. The holograms faded. The path ahead lit up. And the core gate slowly opened, waiting for them to enter. The core gate opened with a slow, deep sound, like metal waking after 1,000 years. Blue light spilled out in soft waves, bright enough to make Evan shield his eyes. Lyra stepped forward, staring into the glowing space with a mix of fear and duty. "This is it," she whispered. "The core chamber." Evan took a step beside her. "Then let's shut this nightmare down." But before they entered, the ground behind them trembled, hard. Cracks shot across the stone floor like lightning. Dust fell from the ceiling in thick clouds. And then came the sound they feared the most. The Guardian's roar. Low at first, then rising into a sharp metallic scream that cut through the entire chamber. Evan didn't even need to turn around. He knew that sound too well now. "It found us," he said. Lyra's breathing grew fast. "It should not have entered this holy chamber. It means the system is breaking completely." A second roar followed. Louder. Closer. Faster. This time Evan turned. A huge metal body forced its way through the broken passage, ripping stone apart as if the walls were made of paper. Its red eye glowed like burning fire, and its limbs scraped the ground with sharp metal claws. It had found them. Evan shouted, "Inside the core. Move!" They rushed into the core chamber as the Guardian charged forward, its footsteps like thunder. Inside, the chamber was round, full of floating platforms, glowing cables, and a massive spiraling structure that reached upward like a metal tree. Energy pulsed up and down its branches in bright waves of blue and silver. Lyra pointed to the center. "That is the heart. If we shut it down, everything stops, the flood, the machines, the danger." Evan looked around. No buttons. No switches. No big red "off" sign. Lyra shook her head. "It reacts to life, not machines. My people used their minds to control it." Evan sighed deeply. "Of course they did." The Guardian crashed through the entrance, the impact shaking the entire chamber. Sparks shot across the walls as old cables broke. The machine let out another metallic roar, scanning the chamber until its red eye locked directly onto Lyra. Target detected. Evan stepped in front of her without thinking. "Too bad. She's not yours." The Guardian launched forward. Lyra grabbed Evan's arm. "We must activate the heart now. Before it reaches us." A shockwave blasted through the chamber as the machine swung a massive claw, slicing through a pillar that crashed to the ground in flaming pieces. Evan and Lyra barely rolled out of the way in time. They reached the platform at the center. A glowing pedestal rose slowly, shaped like two overlapping handprints, one larger, one smaller. Evan stared at it. "Two hands. That's for you, right?" Lyra shook her head. "No. It requires two beings. One of my blood, and one of human spirit." Evan blinked. "You're kidding." The Guardian roared again, charging at full speed. "No time." Lyra cried. Evan slammed his hand on one of the glowing prints. Lyra placed her hand on the other. The pedestal lit up instantly, and a shock of energy shot through the chamber, freezing everything for a moment. The Guardian stopped mid-charge. But only for a heartbeat. It pushed forward again. Blue light wrapped around Evan and Lyra, scanning them. Lyra winced as patterns on her skin glowed brighter than ever. Evan felt something pulling at his mind, searching through his memories, testing him. A voice echoed from the pedestal. "Human strength detected. Alien lineage detected. Unified signal required." The chamber shook violently as the Guardian leaped forward, claws raised. Evan yelled, "It's coming. Do something." Lyra tried to activate the core, but the pedestal flashed red. Training incomplete. Access denied. Lyra gasped. "It rejects me." The Guardian lunged. Evan grabbed her hand again, pressing it deeper into the pedestal. "Then use mine. Use whatever it wants." The pedestal glowed brighter. Energy sparks shot into the air. The machine's red eye dimmed for a moment as the core responded. Human and alien combined signal detected. Unity override beginning. The Guardian slammed its claw downward. At the last possible second, a shockwave burst from the core, blasting the Guardian backward. Its body crashed into a glowing pillar, cracking its chest plate. Evan's breath came out in hard gasps. We did it. Lyra stared at the core as the blue lines shifted. No. This is only the override. We must activate the shutdown. The Guardian's body twitched. It wasn't dead. It pushed itself up slowly, its red eye flickering back to life, brighter and angrier than before. Evan stepped closer to Lyra. It's not stopping, he said. Lyra looked up at the massive metal tree in the center of the chamber. The energy inside it surged faster and faster. We have one chance, she whispered. When the next pulse reaches the top, we strike. Evan nodded. Let's finish this thing. Behind them, the Guardian roared again, louder, deadlier, and with only one goal. Kill them before the core shuts down. The Guardian rose again, sparks flying from its broken chest, its red eye glowing even brighter than before. It looked unstable now, shaking as if the machine inside its body was overheating. But that only made it more dangerous. The core pulsed with rising energy. A wave of blue light traveled up the tall metal structure like a heartbeat getting faster and faster. Lyra looked up at the spiraling branches of the machine. When the next pulse reaches the top, the core will open fully. That is our only chance. Evan tightened his grip on her hand. Then we make it count. The Guardian slammed its claw into the ground, pushing forward with a roar that made the entire chamber tremble. Pieces of the chamber ceiling fell like burning rocks. One almost hit Lyra, but Evan pulled her out of the way just in time. The core pulsed again, stronger. Lyra pointed to a small circular platform rising from the floor. We must stand there when the pulse reaches us. The core will recognize our unity. Evan nodded. Lead the way. They sprinted toward the platform, dodging falling stone and jumping over broken cables. But the Guardian was fast, too fast. It lunged forward, its metal claws scraping the floor, sending sparks everywhere. Evan grabbed a broken metal rod from the ground. Go. I'll distract it. Lyra froze. No. You will die. Better me than both of us, he shouted. He ran toward the Guardian, waving the metal rod. The machine swung its massive arm down, narrowly missing him. The shockwave threw Evan backward, but he rolled and kept running, dodging another strike. The machine's red eye tracked him like a predator. Lyra screamed. Evan! Hurry! He dove behind a fallen pillar as the Guardian's claw smashed into the ground where he had stood a second earlier. The chamber shook again as large cracks spread across the floor. The core pulsed again. Lyra reached the platform. Evan! Now! He took a deep breath, sprinting toward her. The Guardian roared and charged at full speed. Evan leaped onto the platform just as the next pulse of blue energy shot upward through the core. The platform lit up beneath their feet. Light wrapped around both of them, swirling like a storm of stars. The pedestal spoke again. Unity override accepted. Shutdown sequence starting. A massive wave of blue energy burst outward from the core, striking the Guardian directly in the chest. The machine staggered back, its red eye flickering wildly. Evan held Lyra tightly as the energy around them grew brighter and brighter. The Guardian roared one last time and tried to attack, but the blue wave hit it again, this time with full force. Its body cracked, split open, and then exploded in a burst of white sparks. Pieces of metal rained down across the chamber. Silence followed. The core glowed softly now, no longer violent or chaotic. The ground stopped shaking. The lights turned calm, peaceful. Lyra slowly stepped off the platform, her eyes wide with disbelief. We did it. Evan let out a long breath, his legs shaking. Finally, something didn't try to kill us. They walked to the center of the chamber where a small crystal rose from the ground. Lyra touched it gently. "The planet is safe now," she whispered. "The flood will stop. The Guardian will never wake again." Evan smiled faintly. "That's good news. Because I'm tired of being chased by giant metal nightmares." But before Lyra could answer, the core hummed again. The crystal in her hand glowed red. Evan frowned. Is it supposed to do that?" Lyra's face turned pale. "No. Red means danger." The chamber lights shifted from calm blue to sharp warning red. Another hologram flickered to life above the core, this one new, different, and more frightening. It showed a map of the planet. A new location glowed red on the opposite side of the world. A voice spoke from the hologram. "Warning. Core 1 shut down. Core 2 activating." Evan blinked. "Core 2. Wait, there's another one." Lyra's hands shook. "Yes, there were 2 Guardians created in the ancient war. We only stopped the first." Evan stared at the hologram as the red light pulsed like a heartbeat. "So, we're not done," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "No. The second Guardian is waking right now. And it will be stronger." A deep rumble traveled through the ground beneath them. The story wasn't over. It was only the beginning.